Echo's Wisdom is broken. Speedrunners have already been able to complete this game in only half an hour. But how is that possible? There's so many dungeons, so much content, and so much to do. How could you possibly beat this game in only half an hour? Well, that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Today, I'm going to do a full live speedrun explained of Echo's Wisdom, explaining the entire run, all the glitches, all the tricks that makes this run possible. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So, getting into the run right now, once we gain control over Link, we're going to try and play through the intro area as quickly as we can. There's been a lot of minor optimizations that speedrunners have found to make this as quick as possible. But where the biggest optimization really comes is specifically the combat. So for the first fight here, you want to try and walk up on the side so that all 3 attacks misses you, and then you can do a quick spin to get all 3 in 1 attack. Once that's over, we're going to be running through here, and the objective right now is just try and get to Ganon as quickly as possible. Now, Ganon, originally, when this game first came out, was actually quite a long boss fight, but speedrunners have actually figured out that it is not RNG where Ganon teleports, it is consistent. So there is a strat where you can basically take him down in only 30 seconds. So once we're in this main room, we're going to walk up here and we're going to get up to Ganon. And once we get into the fight, I'm immediately going to prep a bomb chew, then throw an arrow. If I do that, I get done with the first cycle, because there's 3 cycles. When he respawns, I walk up left, spam 3 bombs, and shoot the bomb with an arrow. That finishes off the second cycle. Now, for the third cycle, you can't take him down on 1, so you do 1 bomb, 2 bomb, shoot it, tap up right, 1 bomb, 2 bomb, shoot it, and all 4 of those explosions will deal all the damage to him, and the fight immediately ends. It is so fast, and it is so smooth. So in only about 2.5 minutes, you get through basically the entire intro section. And once all of those fights are done, there's mostly just cutscenes left, so there's not too much left to do. We're going to just be running through the escape sequence like we usually would. After that, we're going to go through some cutscenes, talk to the king, get put into the prison cell, and then finally get control over Zelda again once we get the Tri-Rod. Now, what I'm going to do immediately once I'm at this part is I'm going to try and escape as quickly as I can. Now, if you haven't played this game before, normally right here, there's a lot of guards. You're supposed to sneak around, go up, learn certain echoes to be able to maneuver this whole section. But we want to learn as few echoes as we can since it is a speedrun. So we're going to follow a very specific route to pretty much just outrun all the guards. So I hope I can get this fast track because it's really cool. I won't be able to stop though because it's cycle based. So I'm going to spawn 1 table here, then jump over here so he can't follow us. Spawn a table here, jump here. Go over this guy's head. He will try to go after us, but he won't because of the wall. We're going to get this 1 cutscene. Then after the cutscene, we're going to go here, drop 1 table, 1, 2, go on top of this, drop a second one on the pod, and then jump from this corner to here. Then drop 2 super quick tables so that he's not able to catch you in time, and that's very, very tricky. And then you can just run past him. He turns around perfectly around that cycle, and you can get to the end. So the entire escape sequence that, took me probably 10 minutes as a casual can get through in like 30 seconds. It's a really, really fun. It's a really cool technique. Now, once we meet up with Impa here, we're going to get 1 more quick cutscene. We're going to put on our cloak, and otherwise there's nothing really much to it. We're going to go upstairs. And once I'm up here, I'm now going to learn this tree echo. Now, this tree echo is not necessary to get through this room. You're going to see in a second the movement that we use. However, this is actually part of a crazy setup later on for a rung warp. Yeah, it's going to get very broken. But we're going to get through the first gap by putting a table down there. We can do a very precise spin jump to get past the second one, and then we get the bed. Now, the bed is one of the most broken echoes in the game, both casually and speedrunning, believe it or not. So it's something we definitely want to make sure we pick up. And then once we have it, we're now going to go down to this sewer section here. Now, here comes one of the other few echoes we're going to have. We're going to have the stone one. This boulder one is theoretically skippable, but it does reduce some of the luck later on in the run. So I do recommend getting it. Then swimming is always slower, so you want to try and build these beds. And specifically here, it's also really slow to wait for the boulder to fall down. So it's actually quicker to build a small staircase with the beds and then drop one. And the fall is so far that it breaks the boxes and lets you enter it more quickly. And now we're pretty much ready to leave the entire Hyrule section here. Enter the water. And now we are ready to hit the beach. But before we get into the next tricks of the video, I want to quickly thank today's video sponsor, Fabletics. Now, if you're anything like me and you spend a lot of time in front of the computer, you can probably relate to picking the most comfortable clothes you can find. But if I have to go outside or jump on a meeting or something, I want to make sure that whatever I'm wearing looks great. And that's where Fabletic comes in, today's video sponsor. Now, Fabletics clothes are great for both indoors and outdoors use, as well as for exercise. I used it literally all the time when I go out running. They offer basically all types of clothes like shirts, jackets, hoodies, pants, and so much more. All the clothes they offer are both very functional and comfortable. And I mean, hey, look, the outfit I've literally been wearing all day today is straight from the October drop from Fabletics. So if you want to update your closet, then you have to check out their VIP program. Signing up to the VIP program gets you an incredible offer. 80% off the entire site for the first month, and then 50% off every month after that. You will also get credit for a 2-piece outfit or any product up to $100, and the membership is super flexible. There are sales, early drops, and so much more with VIP. So be sure to click the link in the description of this video to save 80% off the entire site when joining the VIP program with my code. Thank you so much, Fabletics, for supporting the channel. But that being said, let's get back into the video. Now, once we're at the beach right here, it's pretty straightforward. We're not going to learn basically any enemies that you're going to see throughout early game, because believe it or not, we only need 2 enemies throughout this entire speedrun. And 1 is used for overworld movement and 1 is used for combat. So you might be wondering which overworld enemy is the best if I were to attempt to do a speedrun or any challenge of any kind. The best early game enemy that you can learn is the spiky enemy right here. That's right. The sea urchin is actually the best enemy that you can go to, because since you can spam them by just dropping them over and over and over again, it will deal incredible damage super quickly. So just jump, spawn, and continue that over and over again. So this will be the only enemy we use for combat for the whole run. Once we pick that up, we're going to get a nice little rupee. Good Twilight Princess reference right there. Thank you very much. Run through this cave, and then we're going to get the trampoline. Now, most of these objects that I'm picking up is for the rung warp setup later on, and that is also why I'm going to get this sign. This sign, believe it or not, is the most broken item in the game. This is the only reason this run works, is that sign echo. So you want to make sure you pick up all the necessary items to be able to set up for the rung warp later. But that's pretty much every single item I need for setting up the rung warp. I don't need any more echoes now. There's only one more I will be obtaining, and that is specifically the spider, so that I can climb up quicker. After that, I don't want to run around the overworld like you would casually, so I'm going to build a tower with the beds here, jump up on these trees, these ones, and then we're going to spin over here. Just going to move the camera so it's up top. You can, by the way, do that. A lot of people seem to not know that. If you hold in the right analog stick, you can get an overhead view. So it makes it a little bit easier to see certain things and to optimize your movement. And once I've made it here now, I'm ready to head towards the first dungeon. Okay, we're going to go up. We're going to jump in. Now, once we gain control over Zelda, we're going to be spinning around here. You're going to see we're basically going to spam the spin button, by the way, for this whole time, because it is the fastest form of movement. Here, we are actually coming up in a cave skip, and it is a lot different than you might assume. You would probably assume I'm going to build a tower here to get up, but no. This NPC actually has collision, so you can actually spawn a bed while standing on top of her, while not being pushed off, and then just jump up to the top. So we're going to use that NPC that's being still. And then once we're here, we can now enter the first dungeon. Now, I'm not actually going to beat the first dungeon. Like I said, this speedrun is basically evolved around a rung warp. So we do not have to beat any dungeons other than the final dungeon for the final boss. But there is specifically 2 things we want from this dungeon. One is this ability right here. We need to be able to focus on objects and move them with the use of the X button. If you do not have this ability, you cannot complete the run. The second thing that we do need outside of Bind is the spider that is in the first cave. So we're going to go through these first 2 rooms of this dungeon right here. Gonna go here. Now, for killing the spider, it's quite fast, even though I don't have any fast equipment. I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 beds. That will kill the spider. I'm gonna learn the echo, and that's it. That is all the items we need to beat the entirety of Echoes of Wisdom. We are completely done obtaining everything. Now we're coming into the crazy part, which is the 2 rung warps that this run uses. So for this first one, I'm going to try and perform a rung warp, and the purpose of this is to escape early game, because I'm currently stuck down here. There's a rift here, and you are not allowed to leave early. So we need to somehow figure out a way to warp out of here. And the way we're going to be doing that is by building ourselves all the way up to the sky barrier. So we're gonna get this rock. I'm gonna bring it on top of this tree exactly in this spot, jump and drop it. Then I'm gonna take a second rock right here, gonna bring that up with me. I'm gonna put this one right there. Now once I'm here, I'm going to try and build myself all the way up so that I basically hit a void out barrier where the game is gonna try and prevent me from going out of bounds, and that's what we're gonna use to our advantage. So basically, them trying to avoid us from sequence breaking is the sequence break. So I'm going to drop 2 trees right there, drop a bed, drop another tree, move it to the middle, and then I'm going to move this bed to the middle, so it's kind of on 2 objects, so when the tree underneath here despawns, it still stands. Here, I have to try and, right as I'm about to bounce, spawn the tree, then hold right. And if you do that, you can get on top of this tree. Then I'm going to make this fall down and break. Then I'm going to try and grab this, jump and move down so that this snaps in place. Once I have done that, I'm now ready for the setup. So here I'm going to drop a sign. And now what I'm going to try and do, and this is frame perfect, I'm going to walk to the right, read the sign by pressing A. And after I press A, I have to frame perfectly open up my pause menu. If I do that, the pause menu will open up, I will fade out because I entered the out of bounds section, but I will spawn back in. And you can actually see in the bottom right corner that Zelda and the map is back. So I'm actually playing the game right now while the pause menu is open. Once I'm at this point, I'm going to now switch to the map, and I need to make sure I don't close it. So I'm going to hold the echoes button, open up the pause menu, select any warp. I'm just going to select this first one. Then I'm going to open up a second map and press A to warp. Once I do that, the game does not take the original value of spawning me in the beginning of the game like it should to that warp point. It is going to take a completely different value internally in the game to decide where to warp into. And that happens to lead me to the edge of Zora. So I come to basically the village right next to the Zoras, and I've now escaped the early game sequence. Once I have done that, I now have complete freedom. And the only reason I want to set this up, I should clarify, is because I want to get a very specific warp in the overworld. Because you can actually use certain warps to force what value the game will use for that wrong warp glitch. So I'm going to go all the way over here to the left, and I want to make it as quickly as I can over to the graveyard here. And I'm going to unlock this warp right here. So we're going to unlock this one. Then I'm going to head all the way over to the left here. And now I don't want to build another tower because it's pretty slow, but there is one other area in the map where you can void out without having to build up to the sky barrier. And that is the Lost Woods. So I'm going to get on top of the Lost Woods right here. And then I'm going to place a sign on top of this tree and do the exact same glitch that I did earlier, where I try and read the sign and then open up the map at the same frame. And if I do that, I can now warp down to the original warp point that I talked about earlier. So I'm going to warp to the bottom right one right at the start of the game. So what was the point of all that? Why go all the way up here, unlock that warp, if I'm just going to go back to the beginning? Well, even though overworld warps are technically random and uses values that we can't determine, that is not true for warps within the Lost world. So I am going to now play, you can see in the bottom right, I'm going to run up and enter the still world, not the Lost World, sorry. I'm going to enter the still world, and once I'm inside of the still world, I'm going to do this very precise setup here. So I'm going to do the same initial setup. So I'm going to select the warp here, and then when I'm now at the second step, now because I'm in the still world, I can switch in between this map and the still world map. So what my objective is to hover over this new warp symbol that I have, and I'm going to press D-pad right to switch to the still world one, and then press A to warp a few frames later. And if you do that, it will take the value of the overworld warp point and apply it to the still world. And that happens to point towards Noel's body. So it wrong warps me all the way to the final dungeon of the game. Now, once I am here, I am going to have to focus, but I'm going to try my best to explain this, because I'm sure you can imagine, I'm at 3 hearts with no enemies. So I'm going to have to do every strategy in the book to be able to get through this. So the first thing I'm going to do here is drop the sea urchin here, and once they spawn, I have to hope that Link's AI actually kills them properly. Then I'm going to stand at this random spot right here and wait. Why am I doing that? Because this top orb right here that's supposed to spawn a really strong enemy, I don't want to spawn. But if you stand underneath where it should spawn in, you can actually have it never hit you. And this right here is a Lionel. So by standing perfectly bottom right of where it should spawn in, it will just rotate in a circle around you. And then the sea urchins is going to take down the health and never have it spawn. So that completely skipped the hardest fights to do there, including the Lionel. Now, once I get into this next room, if you pay close attention, we see that Link is not here and this barrier on the left does not show up. And that's because we never properly spawned Link. So some rooms actually check for Link, and some rooms just have him auto-spawn. Why am I mentioning this? Well, I'm going to show you right now. So if I were to hit this switch, right, you will notice that it's going to break the switch, it's going to open this up, and then just be stuck here. So why does that happen? That happens because the game is waiting for Link to perform his animation of leaving this room. But because we never spawn Link in normally by defeating Zelda in the still world before entering this dungeon, we have to somehow avoid that cutscene from playing. So what we're going to do is throw this enemy and then frame perfectly pause buffer. And once you hit the correct frame that the switch is activated, you make a manual save and then a load. This will make the game remember that the switch was hit and the door should be open, but the cutscene never had time to play. Now, once I got that skip and I'm ready to enter the next room, I have to be very careful because every one of these enemies is ready to kill me. So I have to do very specific setups to avoid taking any damage, because most of these enemies will one-hit me. So for this first room, I'm going to use sea urchins. I'm going to stand in this corner. I'm going to hold this little jumpy guy. I can't remember right now what he's called, because he will jump over the spikes and one-hit me. So I'm going to do that to kill the first enemy here. Then once the fox is ready here, I'm going to just spawn this as well, because this will also one-hit me. Once he is dead, I can both kill him myself and have Link on the other side kill him. And once all the enemies have been taken down now, a really cool unintentional skips comes in. So since Link is not properly spawned in, and this room does not use a pre-rendered Link, but instead it is supposed to look for the Link that actually spawns into the still world, the barrier never spawned up. Why is that important? Because you can skip all the 2D sections and all of the kind of repeats of the start of the game, because you can kind of just traverse to the left side and then be put where Link is, go on this switch for him, and then just go up into this room. And now we are already at the end of the dungeon without ever having to do any of the puzzles or anything. So just those basically 2 fights that I just did and that 1 puzzle skip. Once you've done all of that, we are now ready to go to the final boss fight. Now, this is a hard boss fight, since I do not have any equipment and every boss that will spawn will one-hit me. The only exception to it is one of the arm attacks from Noel himself. But let's try our best to get through it. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to insta-skip this cutscene. Then I'm going to spin up here, and I'm going to grab this arm. I'm going to try and grab it. Once I grab it, I want to stretch it out. Now, even though I didn't upgrade Link, I never upgraded the Master Sword, so his damage is actually really low. It doesn't matter how little damage he does. As long as it's stretched out like this arm, he will always one-hit the arm. So you always just want to stretch it out, have him have a quick spin, and then you're going to be done with the face. Now, right here, I'm going to be jump spawning these sea urchins to try and deal damage while Link is attacking them at the same time. Try and get him down as quickly as I can. Now, once that's done, I'm going to grab Link and move him here where the first arm will spawn. I'm going to grab it immediately. He's going to quick spin it. Grab the second arm. Drag it out. Quick spin. Grab the third arm. And there we go. And now I'm basically going to just repeat this 3 times. I'm going to be jumping and spawning sea urchins right here. But once you've taken down all the damage and entered the second phase for Null, something really funny comes up. So this second phase is the water cycle phase. And I'm sure you guys tried everything to get him down, right? Cutting down his arms, trying to, you know, switch in between Link, spawning sea enemies, etc. Well, speedrunners notice a few things. Number 1, the fish that spawns in here that's supposed to be the 3rd dungeon boss does not deal any damage. You can swim right through him. He is part of the background. The only enemies you have to avoid is literally the standard default, like, tiny enemies. The second thing that speedrunners realized after having run the game for about a week or two was that it's not worth it to deal damage to him while he's swimming, because this is by all stretch of the imagination an auto-scroll. The game does not look at how much damage you deal to him while you're doing the swimming section. All the game cares about is that you deal any form of damage once he hits the final chamber. So I'm going to drop one sea urchin against him right here when he hits the final room, and that's it. That's the entire phase 2. You don't have to deal any more damage. Now, this is when I really have to focus up, because there's a lot of moving parts of this for this last one. So if you do this really optimally and you get quick spins from Link, you can usually be able to pull off 2 cycles for each one of these by getting 2 arms at a time. So I'm going to pull this arm down right here. Drag this one onto the side. Beautiful. And that's one of the 2 cycles right there. Now, for these in-between cycles after you take damage to him, then when the arms come out of the wall, he will be spawning random enemies. And this is the second reason why you really wanted the spider, because those enemies, a lot of them will come on, Link. A lot of those enemies will immediately one-hit you or put you down to a quarter of a heart. So the Strangula is an incredible enemy for tricking these enemies, because they cannot actually kill him, because when they knock the spider, it gets knocked on its back, and then you have more time to go. So, got a little bit unlucky there. So you can drop the spider in front of the hand, and then go against the wall. They will completely focus all of their attention onto the spider, and then you can just really safely pull the arm. All right, so now I'm going to pull this arm. Link is going to kill the arm, and thankfully it instantly despawns all the other enemies. So then we're going to take down this one here. Unfortunately, it looks like Link ran quite afar, so I don't think I'm going to get 2 arms in the cycle, but that's fine. For Ganon, if he chooses that one, it's completely random which one it chooses. You want to stand on the left side and then start spinning around right as the first Ganon attacks, and that usually gets you out of the way. Link missed! As you can see, it's very beautiful when it comes to relying on Link when you're doing this fight. And here comes the scariest in-between phase and the final bosses that's going to spawn. So these bosses deal more damage, is harder to avoid, and also it can spawn lizards, not just normal bokoblins here. And the lizards are not only very fast, but they love to focus you instead of the spider. So this is when the fight gets really difficult. Thankfully, we've already gotten 2 of the arms down. Hopefully, we get a good spawn on the 3rd arm here. Fortunately, I will not be able to reach that arm in time. That's okay. Okay. All right, now we just need Link to... Nice. To get that last arm. Okay. Fortunately, he missed. Oh, God. Barely dodged that. I'm going to try and stand right here and hope they don't hit me. I don't think they're too close. There we go. We're going to go up here. Got hit by one of the arms. That's the only attack I can get hit by and not get 1 hit by, the way, because that's the only attack that deals 2 hearts instead of 3. Please, Link. Okay, beautiful. Okay. 2 cycles, so did not have to get any other attacks. Then we go for grabbing this arm. Grab the final arm. And that's it. That's all 3 phases and all 3 cycles of the final boss. After that, you just have to deal the damage to this guy. There we go. Once the Triforce is exposed, we're going to grab the Triforce. We're going to pull it away from the boss. And then we just have to mash A as quickly as we can. And time. And there it is. That is a full Echoes of Wisdom any percent speedrun. Now, speedrunners are able to complete this very quickly in the low 30 minutes. You can see even with this no reset run, while stopping and while explaining everything, we were able to complete it in 41 minutes. So it is an incredibly fast run, and it is really cool to go through. So I really hope you guys did enjoy this full breakdown into how speedrunners are able to beat this game in only about half an hour. But that being said, if you want to see more speedrun explained videos, you can click on the screen right now. I'll have one linked right there of a Link's Awakening speedrun, which even though it uses the same engine, is a completely different run. The second video is a video that YouTube thinks you're going to like. But that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I will see you all in the next one. Later, everybody. Bye-bye.